Hi everyone, my name is Martin and welcome to another great edition of MP Astro. Now, have you noticed over the past few months I've been making a lot of good videos, a lot of good video content on the solar imaging aspects using my dual system, which is the 66 ED and the 80 ED solar rig that I made. Now I've done quite a few series of videos based around those projects, particularly the sun shield, you name it. There's loads of videos that I've done with the solar imaging, and I've come across a small problem, and the problem is like when I'm solar imaging, my dual setup is perfect. All right, I can track using the HEQ5 mount or the EQ5 mount, and I'm tracking the sun, not obviously taking some great images. And there's something that I've noticed with my rig, and the main problem is that whilst I'm taking great images, capturing through the Zoo ASI 174 or the 178 mono cameras, or using a DSLR camera, I noticed that I do like to look through the eyepiece. So as long as I've got a solar filter fitted onto my telescope, I can observe the sun as well through the eyepiece. But something is missing with my rig. I've noticed that whilst I'm taking astro images of the sun's surface, I have to slew the telescope from left to right to view the sun. And that's a problem with the dual systems. Yes, you do get some cheaper dual systems, at a decent price, but the main problem is though, I've noticed that my telescopes aren't aligned with each other. So whilst you're imaging on one telescope, the other, the sun is not in view. So it causes a lot of headache because I really enjoy looking through the sun through the eyepiece. So I have to slew the telescope to one side so that I can then begin to look through the eyepiece, and it is quite annoying actually. So I had done a lot of research and I looked into a lot of good astral retailers, and don't get me wrong, I sort of if you could take a closer look on those prices for a typical dual setup that I'm after. So as you can see with those images, I had a bit of a heart attack. The prices are outstandingly outrageous. They're just so expensive. Even with the adjustable mount, so you can like align your telescope, even that is so expensive. 300, 400 pounds, 600 pounds for just that component. It really is very expensive. So I thought, hold on, there must be a cheaper option. There must be some way to purchase a dual system with the adjustment so you can align both telescopes. And don't get me wrong, the quality you get from these products are absolutely amazing. Yes, they're not cheap, but you are paying for premium CNC parts, which are a lot more stable, a lot more durable, high strength, which you need that if you're going to mount telescopes on there. So you need a very rigid, sturdy mount. So don't get me wrong on that, but the prices are just out of this world, unbelievable. So I looked into it and I thought, come on, there must be a cheap alternative or some kind of way to make things just a tad cheaper. So I've done my research and I came up with a possible solution. Bear in mind, you still got to spend money. That's the problem about this hobby. you're always going to spend money. If you want a dual rig which you'll be able to image and observe at the same time, then you have to spend a bit of money. So with this video, I found a possible solution where you can adapt something else that may be a cheaper option. It might not be an option that's suitable for everyone else. Maybe some people will want a dual system which is a lot more rigid. But in this video, I just want to share an idea that's worked for me, and I'm going to be testing this idea out just to prove to you guys and girls and everyone that I never launch a video if it's not going to work. So before we start, please hit a like button, and if you're new to this channel, please subscribe onto my channel. Also, don't forget to share this video out. Maybe someone else has also got a similar problem as what I have, wanting to observe whilst imaging at the same time. So, and also don't forget to hit the notifications bell. By hitting that bell will keep you notified for any new videos that I publish out very, very soon. So if you want to find out more on this cheaper possible solution that I've devised, please keep watching and let's do this. So then, guys and girls and everyone, I'm going to show you the part that you're going to need, and I've already assembled this part together because I can't see the point of showing a product and then assemble it, because your assembly might be different than mine. So the bar is this. This is the Losmandy Dovetail bar. Okay. This is priced around about £89. It's 15-inch long and it's in metric size. Alright, so all the holes here are 60mm apart. Okay, so there's 3 holes and all that each way. Very well made, and this is going to be the mounting bar for my solar setup, which is going to be much better than what it used to be, and it was this. And that's what I used. It was not adequate and not very safe to secure onto my mount. So I replace this with this setup. As you can see, it's a lot more robust, a lot more sturdy. Yes, the bar itself weighs around about 1 kilogram. Yes, it does add a bit of weight. But think about it, if you've got a dual system, you need a heavy duty bar. And this is ionized aluminium, very well machined, CNC made, but this works perfectly for my setup. Now I do have a 66mm ED refractor and an 80mm ED refractor. Alright, your system might be different. So this is the reason why I don't want to go in too much depth with this bar. Now the bar does come with screws. As you know, it does come with some certain screws, all right? Not all of them are in there, but if you could take a closer look at the packet itself, this is the packet, all right, and it does come with screws, all right, in there. So the product number for this is prod 108, okay, it's from AMD, very good D series dovetail. Now the one key thing you got to take on board, it's universal. So order the DUP 15 metric. All right, that's the dovetail bar you need if you want to have similar setup as mine. Now, as you're aware, I've attached a series of items in here. Now, I bought these dovetail clamps, Vixen dovetail clamps. This is where the telescopes are going to sit. All right, you can pick them up for £27 at First Light Optics. I've got 3 of these. You'll notice that with these clamps there, I've also adapted a Skywatcher Guidescope mount. Now I've had this for some years. You can pick them up second hand for not much money, probably £80 to £90. Brand new, £149. Actually, it's a really good bracket. Now this bracket is very sturdy. All right, it does add weight, but this is the cheaper option than what you'll see with the dual adaptation systems. Now some of the dual adaptation systems you're paying around about probably 600 to about almost £1,000 for a dual system, all right, with this type of adjustment, okay? But this is more of a budget. Think about how much money I spent, £27 on each of these brackets, your dovetail bar, the Skywatcher Guidescope mounting. And again, this is very easy to disassemble, because all I do is you disconnect 2 screws underneath the 2 separate plates, and basically I've just drilled and tapped through them on that bottom plate, which is this plate here. This plate here, you can take that apart and you can drill 6mm holes. Well, I drill 5mm holes and then retap it with a tap and die set, and threaded 16 metric 16 threaded holes, which enables me to attach this Guidescope bracket together onto the bar. Now, I didn't want to drill any holes actually on the bar because the bar has still got warranty. So this bar, despite how much I paid for, I am not willing to just drill into this bar, right? So basically I'd rather drill into my old Guidescope bottom bracket here, all right, and do it that way. And this is all threaded. At least as long as you've got 3 bolts or something that secures that bracket here, you'll notice it doesn't fit all the holes together. All right, so this fits. I've got 5 bolts holding that, which is plenty of strength there and support, all right, for the Guidescope. Again, your system might be different than mine. All right, so that's how I assembled that one. And it's same on this one. As long as you've got 3 screws holding in some of your brackets there, all right, you can see straight away it's a lot sturdy, a lot robust. Yes, this is actually pretty heavy. This is actually added like 2 to 3 kilograms overall in there, which is a lot of weight. But what you notice here is I've also adapted the L-shaped bracket system, and again I've used the same screws here to secure a bracket there, and I've got like a D-shaped handle, carrying handle from 4 point. Again, this is not a requirement, all right, you don't really need this part, but again I wanted to do it because of my hands, all right, because one of my hands is not quite the same after my accident, so I have to use a carrying handle to lift my setup. You'll notice that as I put that together, my L-shaped bracket, now if you've not seen that video that I made the sun shield, here is the sun shield part here, and this also attaches onto that L-shaped bracket. So everything here is everything that I need here. So my complete solar setup for my 66, my 80mm will fit there all together, very sturdy. As you can see, the build quality on here is amazing. So think about how much money I have saved if I bought a dedicated dual system rig. All right, they are not cheap, and believe me, I rather build one myself than trying to buy one complete, because the ones you can buy complete from AMD are very expensive. Here I've got everything there. Okay, I've spent a bit of money, but I think I've spent probably around about £200–300, which is damn sight cheaper than you can buy the dedicated ones. Believe me, you're saving a lot of money. I mean, I've probably saved £400 overall. You know, that £400 can go into something else. All right. So as you can see there, I even introduced a carrying handle from 4 point and adapted it to make it fit. All right. That's the bar I use, right? The AMD Universal, which is £89. It's a 15-inch long, and it's metric. So all the threaded parts are metric. So you can thread metric threads in there. You can also have imperial, all right? It doesn't really matter. As long as you can get something of similar setup like that, it does feel a lot more robust, and we'll get to test it out later on in this video. So again, the links are below for this bar, all right, and all the other additional stuff, all right. So I will include the links so you can order these parts, but it just depends on your setup. So again, you can see there it's very robust, and we'll get to see how it performs.
So done, guys and girls and everyone. Another sunny day. Not ideal conditions. We've got loads of cloud haze everywhere, and we've got our solar rig set up. And first thing, when you start using your new rig, you'll notice that everything won't go in line. So what I did was use the main telescope as the camera, and as you can see there, I've got the sun lined up on the finder. You then check your computer, get focus on your image. Obviously we've got the sun more or less in the middle. All right, I'm using the reticle as well, and I just control my mount using my SynScan app, all right, on my phone, and I just align the sun as best as you can, or and with that you just get it central somewhere. Now I'm not going to sort out the settings yet. I'm not going to start imaging until I sorted out this alignment. So in order for this DIY setup, you'll notice that I've got a solar filter and an eyepiece. If you're lining up the sun, I will do that method. You can use a camera, but personally I'm just going to use this as my solar rig here for time being, and obviously get the solar filter on there first, then you put the eyepiece. You'll notice here, if you take a closer look here, you notice that we are not aligned. So this is what I'm trying to say about my other rig, my last rig I made, is that I had to move the telescope side by side. So if I wanted to image, I had to move one telescope for the other. And if I wanted to look at the sun, alright, using a solar filter, I have to then move them out again slightly to get my alignment, which is absolutely quite irritating. And so with my budget set up here, and believe me, it is a budget, even though I spent considerable amount of money on that Losmandy. I know the Skywatcher Guidescope mount, I had that for some years. That's obviously gone up in price, plus it's very hard to find, but if you can get one second hand, you can buy them up really cheap. And I've got my setup there, and again I am balanced all the way through. So we're going to line up this sun finder onto this main telescope tube, and all I do to do that is move the adjustments knobs here. All right, you'll notice as I'm moving one knob, it's moving to the left. So I need to move this back and forth. So I need to get it. So you're going to line it up best you can. Keep adjusting it until you get the sun into the finder. So we're more or less there. So now I'm going to adjust the other way and see if we can get this aligned. So again, you go down the bottom. All right, this is where it's a bit difficult. So you adjust that rotating wheel, and with that rotating wheel, as you move it back and forth. So we're going to move the rotating wheel. Just notice my hand's there. So I need to move it to the right. You notice it start to move up, so I need to go back down again, like so. So then I need to adjust the other part, and yes, it'll take some time fiddling, but believe me, it's all worth it in the end. So we keep adjusting it till we're nice and central enough. Okay. You'll notice what you're trying to achieve is trying to get both discs on the solar finders equal. Okay. It doesn't matter if you're not quite there. All right. As long as you get more or less in the same field of view, you should be good to go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a closer look through the eyepiece, Again, I'm using the solar filter. Never use the telescope and look for the eyepiece at the sun without a filter. And as you can see, we've now got the sun into view. So as you can see there, we've got the sun into the eyepiece. So I'm just going to focus the image. Obviously, this camera phone will not bring this to focus very well. But yeah, we are in view of the sun. Yeah, there's the disc. Yeah, it's not focusing well, so you're not going to make out any detail there. But you can see the concept now. And check your alignment with your main telescope, the main imaging camera. And as you can see there, we've now got both telescopes aligned. This one's slightly out, but the thing is, I can't fix this. This is already fixed. This is a permanent fixture. So what I do is use that as my guide, is use that as alignment first through the camera. And again, it depends on which way you want to do it, but it works both ways. You can either use that as your aiming device or use that. But personally, use the telescope that you can't adjust. Get that one set up. Once that's set up, then adjust the other one. And once you get it done, that is you perfectly aligned. So both telescopes now are aligned to the same target, which means now what that enables me to do is I can image and look at the sun using the solar filter bang on at the same time. And you know the good thing about this, the beauty of this, I paid 89 bucks for the bar. I had that second hand. Probably you can pick them up for about 80 to 90 pounds second hand. And apart from a few cheap dovetails, yes, it takes a bit of time to set up, but once you set up, and obviously, you know, you're doing all the hard work of cutting holes and all that. Personally, I don't like cutting holes onto the dovetail bar. I don't want to do that because it's brand new, so I don't want to ruin the warranty. So I just want to keep the bar as original. But yeah, cut into the cheap dovetails, all right, the dovetail clamps, they work. And surprisingly, all that setup is really rigid now, a lot better than it was with the Vixen style dovetail, which to me, the Vixen dovetail is not stable when you've got this kind of equipment on there. All right, and particularly you've got that much equipment that you could possibly, you know, that equipment could come off the mount and fall onto the ground and smash up pretty badly. So now you know that works. Again, give it a try. If you want to save money, give it a try. You know, again, it does take some time to figure out which sort of holes you're going to need. So again, based on my guide, this is only like an introduction, but your setup might be different than mine, okay? So you've got different setups, will determine on how long you want to determine how big the bar you want to have. All right, you really got to do your homework for this. But like I said there, we've saved a ton of money. And as I explained earlier in the video, and I showed you how much a dual axis sort of rig where you have the adjuster, we're talking 600 to about almost $1,000 for a setup like that. And that's not including some of the bits that's needed, like a carry handle that I introduced, all right, a sunshade, all the additional stuff. So that's just for the plate and the clamps and the adjustable clamping system. You're paying, yes, you're paying for quality, don't get me wrong, but it's very pricey. And to be honest with you, the Skywatcher Guidescope mount is pretty stable, all right, and it's enough for that telescope. I reckon probably up to 80mm of aperture is probably totally fine on the Skywatcher guider bracket. But as you can see there, you've seen it in action, you know how it works, and feel free to use this video as a guide. Again, this is only introduction level, Right, this is not going to show you exactly what you want, but you've got the concept how that works. So everyone, as you can see, we're live on my laptop screen, and we're at 10:06. And as you can see, we've got the camera set, the ISR 174 mono camera, and as you can see, I've got a bit of hazy cloud. The main thing is, I'm not really bothered about the hazy cloud. I just want to capture this moment, and it's going to last around about 2 hours. And as you can see, the moon is not quite there, but in about 1 minute time we'll get to see the passing. It will start around about 10:08, I believe. So as you can see the camera is set at 0.624 milliseconds, and we're capturing not quite on the huge data thing. Data screen. The image is 16 by 1200. So as you see, you can see the passing cloud, which is really irritating, but the main thing is I just want to get this moment at the moment. And we're using the Quark eyepiece as well, so we're seeing it in hydrogen alpha, and we can see some filaments in there, a sunspot on the far corner there. And yeah, so now it's 10:08. It's now start of the solar eclipse. As you see, we can't see no detail yet, but we're going to capture that data. We're going to do a capture config. So partial eclipse, it has now begun. We're going to take it at 25 seconds, and then we're going to begin the capture. So hopefully that will capture a series of data of the sun. So I'm trying to do a time-lapse video, so the wind's not going to make it any easier for me as usual, but this is a live astronomy channel. End of the day, this is not staged. Alright, this is real-time conditions and frustrations, and as you see, I've got hazy cloud and the wind to top it all. So as you can see, we're capturing, I believe, probably a 2-minute video. It should really be 25 seconds, so I don't know why that's that, so I now need to cancel that. Don't want to capture a video too long, so because obviously I'm going to run out of, I'm going to discard that, set the capture again. I don't want 2-minute long video because I'm just going to lose a lot of data for that. So 25 seconds each. Okay, and I just want to capture loads of frames of that, loads and loads of frames. And we're going to have a 25 interval pause as well. So as you can see at the bottom, we now see the moon. You can see at the bottom now. As you can see, there it is. It's just begun now. So thank God we've got it. Not idle conditions, but the passing's now started. So 10:10 is now the start. I will now begin the capture on my DSLR as well. Alright, I'm going to do a time-lapse video of my DSLR. Again, it's not particularly great, but we now got it into view. Yeah, the hazy cloud is causing some massive dramas. So we're now recording my video on my DSLR. This is absolutely amazing. So we're now capturing that sequence in hydrogen alpha. We should, up in Scotland, we should get around about 40% partial eclipse, so which is pretty good. We're getting this in real time, and yeah, this is pretty awesome stuff. So
I should really do a live video on YouTube, but there's no point because I'm just going to lose a lot of data on my video. I need as much data as possible, but as you can see, I'm happy to get these results. As you can see, we've got the passing cloud, and it's causing some havoc on the image, which is a real shame. We're already at 10:30, and we can just barely make out the detail with that cloud, the hazy cloud. So I'm going to have to up the gain, and as you can see, that hazy cloud is totally ruining the image. It's a real shame, but at least I managed to capture it. Alright, would like to have got it a little bit far in there. I think peak is around about 11 o'clock. We'll be able to see it full partial eclipse there to about 40%, but as you can see, that cloud has totally wrecked that recording, which is a real shame because I really wanted a time-lapse video of the partial eclipse as the moon passes over. And I'm still recording through my ISI 174. It's a real shame. It's just one of those things, but this is a real astronomy channel. It's not staged or anyway. This is exactly what you get frustrations wise. So got 3 cameras at the moment. So I've got this one over hydrogen alpha. I've got the Canon DSLR through the telescope as well, trying to capture a live image, and yeah, it's just one of those things. It's very frustrating, it really is. So I've got the Sony as well capturing in a wide field lens with the solar filter. Yeah, it's disappointing, but we've got it. We've got some detail. Not great, but it's better than a kick in the teeth, I suppose. It's the way it is. But hey, it's just one of those things. But we've got it. We've managed to get a bit of a clearing, and we are expecting the weather front coming in. So I won't be staying too long because the rain's going to come probably around about midday. So I'm not messing about. So I'll be getting these quick captures, and hopefully I can process them and get some decent results, hopefully, with this lousy data. But yeah, it's just one of those things.
Well, guys and girls and everyone, what do you reckon? Absolutely fantastic results. As you can see there, I've got a nice stable platform with that Losmandy bar, and I've been able to use my old Skywatcher Guidescope and able to use my 66, get it aligned with the bigger 80 ED refractor. And as you can see, it just shows you how easy it is to align those telescopes, and it's much safer. I'm not going to risk having this optical dual assembly to just fall off the mount, which is a bit of a nerve-wracking situation with the Vixen Dovetail. The Losmandy bracket also helps with the telescope, so definitely the clamping bracket for the mount is another addition that you might need to look into if your mount doesn't have it. You might have to buy that as separate, all right? But a lot of mounts nowadays, the newer mounts, come with dual clamping systems. So you might be lucky that you just need to check your mount. So yes, you do need to buy another part if you don't have that attachment. But with Losmandy, you can see straight away, even with this setup, my telescope rig is perfectly balanced. And the one way you can do that is all you do is loosen these clamping bolts and slide it back and forth, and you just got to determine the weight. But as you can see there, my telescope is perfectly balanced in both axes. All right, so having a dual system is not a problem. All right, you just need to sort out, you just have to tinker around. It really depends on your setup. So to get it balanced, right, you've got to work it out yourself. Yes, this video is only just going to give you a general idea of what it is, what it entails, but as you see, it took me quite a while to get my system to be balanced. So sometimes you might need to move your clamping systems back and forth, align out a different hole, and just tinker away. Obviously, I managed to get my sun shield to be aligned. I've got both telescopes together with the Guidescope bracket system as well. And I have now got a system that it is properly balanced, much safer to use now. I can align both telescopes onto the sun without no problems, which means I can be able to image and observe at the same time. All right, which is much more enjoyable. Yes, you do have to spend a bit of money towards the clamps and the bar, and you might need to buy some bolts to match. You might need to do a bit more work to drill some holes on there, on the bar or on the clamps themselves, and thread them, all right, so you can clamp them together that way. But it just depends on what you're going to do, all right? It depends on your setup. So this is just a general idea, give you an idea of how effective a cheap and budget style dual system, which is adjustable. I'm just trying to share this idea out so that hopefully you can get an idea. If you're looking for a dual system, it's definitely worth doing one, especially if you're astro imaging like for deep space, because it's not just for solar. You can have two telescopes at once aligned to the same target you are imaging. So if you're imaging a galaxy or nebula, you can have two telescopes set by set, side by side, and you could be taking either, again, looking through the eyepiece and imaging at the same time, even for deep space, or even for planets, all right, and the moon, all right. That's why this is the advantage of a dual system. In particular, you've got a system which is now has the alignment bracket. Yes, you might not be able to get a Skywatcher Guidescope bracket, but you can get them. You can buy them from Skywatcher. They're a lot cheaper than the dedicated alignment bracket systems. All right, these systems are a lot more robust, they're a lot more well engineered, but then you've got to pay premium prices. The Skywatcher one is pretty good, and I would say it can hold an 80 to a 4-inch refractor. I am not going to recommend mounting anything bigger than that, because I think mounting anything that's 4-inch or above, I think you're really pushing that Skywatcher bracket to its limit. So 4-inch or under is probably more than ample, all right, for that the Guidescope bracket system. All right, I've not seen anything mounted bigger on there, and to be honest with you, it's stable for the 66. And yes, you can mount it on your short tube 80mm or a short tube 102 on there without no problems. But anything bigger, I think you're touch and go. All right, but as you can see, it worked fine. Yes, I spent probably 200, maybe 300 pounds around that figure to make it and build it up, but I've saved a lot more money in the long run. Think about it. Looking at those prices for those already dedicated dual systems, they're like 600, 800 to almost £1,000 just for a mounting system. That's pretty expensive. So please use this video as a guide if you're interested in making a dual system yourself. And yes, there'll probably be a few people out there that want 2 telescopes and wanting that to image that same target at the same time. Also, get yourself one of these tools. Now this is an AMD specialized tool. This fits perfectly on, if you've got a clamping system like this AMD clamping system here, those 2 knobs, right? If you've got that bracket set up, get this tool, because believe me, this is actually quite good. Yes, it cost me 27 quid for this tool, but it has a serrated sort of edge where I can just slide this tool on there, all right, and I grab the handle, and you can loosen this and tighten this much tighter than by hand, because these knobs you can hand tighten, but this just gives you a little bit more torque just to nip it up a bit more, so to make that Losmandy clamp much better. So this tool is definitely worth a buy. It's well made, and you only need to buy one of these. You don't need to buy a series of these. You just want one of these. Now there'll be a fair few people thinking about or judging already on my setup that I have attached my far point handle, the D handle, right? You're thinking, why has he done that? Why has he just put a Vixen dovetail clamp and a handle on there? Now, don't get me wrong, guys and girls. I've already bolted this with 3 bolts. So this clamp is not held in by just that hand thumb there. All right, as you can see there, I have not tightened that up, or obviously I've tightened it up best I can, but it's not relying on that clamping, just that bolt alone. I've actually put 3 bolts at the back of that. All right, so it actually goes through the L-shaped bracket, through the bar, all right, and that is well secured. That's going nowhere. So if there's a few people will be doubting why I've done that, all right, if you look closely, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this tool, and I'm going to loosen this off, and I'll just show you how good it is to have a D handle. All right, I loosen this off. As you can see how easy it is to just even take that apart. Okay, look at that. The handle comes off, and I've got the whole sort of bit there. You also, this is the bolts, right? These are the bolts here holding it. 3 bolts, or 2 bolts already through the bar, and you got 1 there. All right, so that's well secured. That's going nowhere. And this is how easy it is to put it on. So I mount the bracket in there using the tool. Again, I need to get the balance, so I have to get the tool whilst I'm holding it. I then clamp this, This tool makes it a lot easier. So I just nip it up first. It's just a tweak. You then check, always check that your dovetail is properly clipped in. All right, I've seen so many people that don't double check these that serrated edge is clamped properly. Always check. Once it's on there, you can then let go. All right, it's going nowhere. We're then going to check the balance, and again, I'm lucky I've just got that right. But what you have to do is, if your balance is not right, you loosen them two screws, hold the D handle, and just slide it back and forth. All right, and just try again and try and get your balance right. I've now got a proper dedicated solar rig. I could use this rig also to image deep space, so I could technically use this, have two telescopes at the same time, and I'll fit a Guidescope on one of them. You only need one Guidescope, and or you can just use one telescope to Guidescope and the other to image. It really just depends on how you want it. All right, this is Astro Imaging, right? You can do whatever you want. All right, but as you can see there, you've got a nice, perfectly balanced rig, lot stable, lot more secure, and I can't really grumble. Plus, I've saved a lot more money. I've probably saved 400, maybe 600 pounds overall. All right, which is great for me, because I can then begin to start saving up probably for another quark eyepiece, because again, I want my dual system to have two quarks. So again, but I've got to save a lot of money as always, so I'm going to have to probably save a bit of cash and hopefully get another quark, and that'll be great, because then I can be able to not only image but also be able to observe in H alpha, which is definitely a must. All right, and I always said this, the quark eyepiece from Daystar is probably the best bang for your buck if you want to start into getting a hydrogen alpha solar work. The quark is really good. All right, yes, you do need to tinker with it, but look at the possibilities are endless. There's so much you can do with a quark eyepiece. You can fit it to virtually any telescope, providing you read within the Daystar guidelines. All right, because not all telescopes are able to work with a quark, particularly with the scats and the maxitovs. You'll need a different type of quark eyepiece for them to work. Plus, when you're using larger apertures of scats and maxitovs, even Newtonian telescopes, you need an off-axis ERF, all right, depending on the aperture, because the ERF is very crucial, because if you don't install an ERF, you can probably burn out the quark blocking filter and then totally destroy the eyepiece. So you got to be careful when you're using larger apertures. All right, the quark is designed to block out most of the harmful rays from the sun, so you just got to be careful when you're using larger apertures. So a dedicated ERF like this one from Alta Astro is a good start. They always say that use a ERF that you've got a telescope which is around about 120 millimeters of aperture. Personally, I want an ERF regardless of the aperture size, because ERF is just going to protect your quark better. Plus, having an ERF, it doesn't matter what aperture you use, having an ERF, if you're having the solar light rays filtered already at this end, you're reducing the amount of heat buildup inside the tube, which means if you're keeping the optical tube cool, you're going to get a lot less atmospheric turbulence in your images. So your images will be a lot more sharper. So having an ERF does actually help reduce that heat buildup inside that optical tube. All right, so it is worth having an ERF, but again, you've got to spend a bit of money, because solar is not cheap. All right, so having an ERF is definitely another handy little accessory to have. But bear in mind, always use an ERF in combination with your quark eyepiece. You never use an ERF to look through the eyepiece. Never use an eyepiece without a quark, obviously without the quark itself. All right. If you've got the quark, then you can use the ERF, but never use just the eyepiece. All right, just a normal eyepiece that you get. All right. If you're going to do that, please use a white solar filter, and ideally a dedicated, genuine, guaranteed solar filter. Like Barda, for example. Barda offer an awesome solar film. They're much safer to use. Don't use any of the cheaper options. All right. There are some other brands as well that also offer some good white solar filter, because at least when you buy those products, you know it's going to protect your eyes and rest of your family and friends' eyesight as well. So please avoid buying cheap. Always buy good Astro solar filters. Never cheap out. All right. So that is something you need to address. So to that on, I hope you like this video. Please hit a like button. And again, if you want to undertake this project, please feel free to use that video. So share this video out. It might help someone else. Also, if you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe onto my channel. Also, please hit the bell by selecting, obviously the bell, by hitting the bell, select up, select all, and I'll keep you notified for any new videos coming out very, very soon. So to that on, thanks for watching, and I wish you all clear skies.